I am continuing to work through my sample chapters for The Fixer, a legal thriller. The first three sample chapters have already been released in a variety of places. The full book, of course, is already available on Audible. In the previous chapters, we've been introduced to Kirk Hoffman and the rest of his team, and we are now getting to know the client and hear his side of the story. So now, on to Chapter 4.
4. Dwayne was 6 feet tall with jet black hair, pale skin, and a cherubic face that seemed to be in a constant state of amusement. Even in this stressful situation, that was coming through. Perhaps this was part of why the media were so drawn to him. It always seemed he was up to something. He greeted me with a somber grimace and a firm handshake. "I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice, Mr. Hoffman," Dwayne said, his face breaking into a smile that seemed to suggest he was about to laugh but was holding back because of the seriousness of the situation. It disappeared fast. "I've been wanting to meet you for some time, so perhaps it's somewhat opportune that fate brought us together." Dwayne was accompanied by 3 others, 2 women and 1 man. Each woman had a Bluetooth earbud in one ear, and both were having conversations over their earpieces as they entered. The man smirked as he looked around our lobby, apparently wondering why Dwayne had come here. Undoubtedly, the man had been in more expensive law offices. Mine was a remodeled home in East Salt Lake City. "I'm happy to be of service," I said. "Come into our conference room." I nodded to his team. "Your assistants need to wait outside." "I brought my personal lawyer." Dwayne pointed at a woman in a business suit who hadn't yet acknowledged the rest of us. "Sasha Weaver. She'll come too." Sasha was short, blonde, gorgeous, and reaming whoever was on the other side of her conversation. She wore diamond earrings that were probably each a full carat. "Sure," I said. In short order, we were all around the conference table. Dwayne sat across from me with Sasha beside him. She finished her conversation with a threat and disconnected. I didn't have enough context to say what it had been about, but it didn't seem related to the present situation. "I regret to inform you that you may have come out this way for nothing," I said, setting my expectations with Dwayne so he didn't think he could just throw money around to get what he wanted. It was essential to start off on the right foot with somebody like him. "I realize there's no commitment on your side yet," Dwayne said with that mischievous expression back on his face. It seemed to say he knew we would be once he wrote a check. "I read about you." "You saw that recent story in the Trib?" I asked, referring to an article about me in the Salt Lake Tribune several months back. He nodded, his confidence unwavering. "That might have been misleading," I continued. "It gave the impression I'm looking for new clients when nothing could be further from the truth." I held his gaze. "It's been a long time since I spoke with Heath if he's the one who suggested you come to me. He might not be aware of how I do things now." "What are you saying?" "I'm not a typical lawyer who takes work whenever I can get it. I'm selective about my clientele, Mr. Sachs. I often seek out clients and offer my services for free to the right ones. I'm prepared to pay." I cut him off. "And that's what I'm telling you. While I do take paying clients, I have a specific criterion for selecting them." Dwayne gave me a curious look. "What?" "Evidence of innocence. I represent people who've been wrongfully accused, and I bring in my team to solve the problem." I stared at Dwayne, wondering if he'd look away or show any sign that he was uncomfortable. Relief crossed Dwayne's face. "Oh, I'm innocent. You don't have to worry about that." I'd represented corporate executives before, and while there were many I respected, I discovered that a certain number were less than desirable people. Now, that didn't make them predisposed killers, but it did mean they didn't hesitate to use shady means to accumulate wealth and power. Based on what I knew about Dwayne, he fell into this latter category. In most cases, wrangling a client was like trying to herd a cat. We'd be wrestling a lion if I took on Dwayne. My eyes narrowed as I glanced at Sasha Weaver. We'd be wrestling a lion who kept a tiger on a leash. I don't think you understand me. I'm not a regular trial lawyer. I've done something wrong if it gets to court." I waited until he met my eyes. "I only represent truly innocent people, Mr. Sachs, and I almost always prove that to the other side and get the charges dismissed before it gets too far, saving everybody time. You have to convince me that's what you are if you want me to take your case." Lux gave a satisfied nod from my peripheral vision. I expected Dwayne to be taken aback at my insistence. Most of my clients didn't know a thing about me until I contacted them. I didn't advertise. I'd never put my face on a billboard. And I didn't even have a firm website. I had no need to do that when I sought my own clientele. On those rare occasions when people found me thinking I was a hired gun, I set them straight. That was enough to turn most away, and if that didn't work, I quoted a hefty retainer, and that always did. My firm was the most exclusive this side of the Mississippi. Dwayne nodded. "That's why I came. I need somebody who's going to fight to clear my name." "As far as I know, you haven't been charged with anything, Mr. Sachs. Is that accurate?" "It's a matter of time. What do I have to sign to make this happen? I'll pay any amount." I hesitated. "Perhaps I'm not making myself clear. You'll have to open up. We must see every detail for at least the last 48 hours and probably much further back than that. You'll tell us everything and give us access to everything. If at the end I'm not convinced of your innocence, I won't represent you." I gave him a moment for this to sink in. "I have a different mission than other defense attorneys." "What's that?" "Justice." Dwayne nodded. "I understand, Mr. Hoffman. I agree to your terms." He hesitated, and I got the idea he was going to mention something about the money, but he must have realized that wouldn't motivate me. Money was a tool. I was happy to have plenty of tools and didn't let myself think of it in any other way. It appeared my first attempt to dissuade him from seeking my services hadn't worked. In a case such as this, especially one so high profile with many potential pitfalls and avenues of investigation, I require a $2.5 million initial retainer, and if by some chance it does go to trial, something I try to prevent, but there are no guarantees, an $8 million retainer on top of that. Even as I spoke, I could tell he wasn't impressed by the hefty price tag I was throwing down like a gauntlet. He could afford to pay and wouldn't bat an eye. As I stared at the man in front of me, I couldn't help but remember the teenage boy bouncing on his feet outside the prison, waiting for his father to be freed. Heath had barely acknowledged his kid as he walked straight past me without saying a word. Lux thought this was about Heath, but she was wrong. It was about that waiting boy. That was who I felt I owed something to because prison had made his bad father worse. Dwayne's mom had been out of the picture before Heath was sent to prison, so Dwayne had lived with a great aunt until Heath had been freed. Dwayne didn't bat an eye. "I understand. I'm in."